Wadsworth, am I right in thinking there is nobody else in this house?
No.
Then there is someone else in this house.
No, sorry. I said no, meaning yes.
No meaning yes? Look, I want a straight answer. Is there someone else, or isn't there? Yes or no?
No.
No, there is, or no, there isn't?
Yes.
Please!
Just checking.
Everything all right?
Yep, 2 corpses, everything's fine. There's still one thing I don't understand.
One thing. I hated her so much. It flames on the side of my face. Heaving breaths.
It's not a trick. There was one shot of Mr. Body in the study, 2 for the chandelier, 2 at the lounge door, and 1 for the singing telegram.
That's not 6.
1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1.
There was only one shot that got the chandelier. That's 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Even if you were right, that would be 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, not 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Okay, fine. 1 plus 2 plus 1. Shut up! Da-da-da-da-da-da. I am your singing telegram.
Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of the WayBack Movies Podcast, a show where we review the best and not so best of 80s and 90s cinema, because really, fuck the 2000s. My name is Steve, and with me on this crazy journey,
Justin.
Doctor. And we're back with a very interesting edition of our show this week. But before we get into it, I do want to mention something that happened last week. A gentleman who has been our MVP, I think, twice, has passed away.
Yes.
The great John Witherspoon, who will be our MVP of any other movie we talk about with him, has passed away this week. So I just wanted to point out that it's a shame that the man is gone. And just wanted to say something.
The world is a little less funny because he's no longer with us.
This is very true.
But yes, like you said, any other movie, and there will be several movies in the future that will feature the great John Witherspoon.
He will be as soon as we say his name.
It'd be almost hard not to.
I don't think there's a movie I can think of with him in it that he's not going to be the MVP. So we're just calling that right now.
I think you had 3. You have 3.
Yeah.
Technically,
that is actually true. That's right. I think
you just
I believe.
You couldn't. You had no time for Meteor Man. So when John Witherspoon popped up, you're just like, you know what?
He was in it for like a total of 5 minutes, but it was the only 5 minutes I think I enjoyed of that movie. It's the great John Witherspoon. So unfortunately, he has passed away. I didn't even mention it to you. I thought about maybe we should change the movie to something he's in, but I just couldn't. I don't have the ability, unfortunately. My work schedule has ramped up like crazy for the next few weeks. It's Christmas time in a toy store, folks. I'm busy as all hell, so I didn't have time to go into another one. So
So once we get over,
yes,
our schedule is set for November. December's obviously Christmas, but in January, I assure you, we will come around.
Yes, we'll definitely be doing more and honoring the man's great work because he was just that awesome, and we loved him here. So he will sorely be missed, and. Like you said, the world's a lot less funnier. It's a little less of a good world with him out of it. So that's all we're going to say. But that being said, we are moving on for this week's episode. We are traveling back to December 13th, 1985, for a film that, let's just put it on Front Street. We love this movie. It's Clue. I think everyone loves this movie except for a handful of people, and you question them when they don't. So let's just go back to 1985. Okay, here we are. 1985. I'm 3. I wasn't aware this movie existed in 1985.
I saw it in the theaters.
However, this is a film I have seen many, many times in my life. One of those movies that I didn't take to at first, but my sister sure as hell did. And boy, did I see this a lot because of her. And grew to love it because of it. I didn't dislike it. It was just sort of not one of my childhood favorites, and then
I don't know if it should be anybody's childhood favorite.
I'm finding out it's a lot of people's childhood favorites.
Really?
Oh God, yes. This is a big childhood movie because you know what? It's one of those movies where it's so visually interesting that a child can totally get it.
I mean, I say that it isn't, but then I'm sitting here going, no. When I was like, in my teens, early teens,
in all fairness,
watched this movie, and I'm like, yeah, I liked it.
I think I saw this movie the first time when I was 7 or 8, and I thought it was funny. I just didn't understand why she liked it so much because she was a little older, and then
there's enough slapstick in it.
There is, and then when you get older, you understand some of the jokes that you didn't get initially, and fuck, it's quick. But we'll talk about that. I have a surprising amount of notes I was able to find, so sit back and relax. I will, as per usual, speak as quick as possible to get through this as quick as we can, and you'll all move on with your day. So Clue, December 13th, 1985. Director and screenplay by Jonathan Lynn. Story by Jonathan Lynn and John Landis. Based on the board game Cluedo by Anthony E. Pratt. Producer Deborah Hill. Production company Goober Peters Company. Remember them from Batman? Polygram Filmed Entertainment, Deborah Hill Productions. Distributed by Paramount Pictures. A box office of $15 million against a budget of... box office of $14.6 million against a budget of... My God, I wrote box office twice and keep forgetting what I'm doing.
Oh.
Budget of 15 against a box office of 14.6. Jesus Christ. Why do I write things twice?
And I'm hoping over the years and home video has helped this movie.
Oh, this movie has been successful, yes. This movie needed to be on home video. There's actually, Jonathan Lynn has several reasons as to why. One main reason, and the more I think about it, he's right, but we'll get there in a few minutes. So the cast... Tim Curry is Wadsworth the Butler. Leslie Ann Warren is Miss Scarlet. Martin Mull is Colonel Mustard. Madeline Kahn is Mrs. White. Christopher Lloyd is Professor Plum. Eileen Brennan is Mrs. Peacock. Michael McKean as Mr. Green. Colleen Camp is Yvette. Lee Ving as Mr. Body. Bill Henderson is the cop. Kelly Nakahara is the cook. Jane Weedlin is the singing telegram girl. Jeffrey Kramer is the motorist. Howard Hessman, uncredited, is the evangelist / the chief. That cast alone, Jesus Christ, could have been very different. However, let's talk about Cluedo for a minute. Cluedo, known as Clue in North America, is a murder mystery game, in case you're living under a rock, for 3 to 6 players that was devised in 1943 by Anthony E. Pratt from Birmingham, England. The game was first manufactured by Waddingtons in the UK in 1949. Since then, it has been relaunched and updated several times, and it is currently owned and published by the American game and toy company Hasbro. The object of the game is to determine who murdered the game's victim, Dr. Black in the UK version, and Mr. Body, with 2 Ds, in North American versions, where the crime took place and when the weapon was used. Each player assumes the role of one of the 6 subjects and attempts to deduce the correct answer by strategically moving around a game board representing the rooms of a mansion and collecting clues about the circumstances of the murder from other players. The game has spawned several books, video games, TV series in both the UK and the US, a musical, and this feature film. So the production of this film, the first film based on a board game, I would like to say that there was not any after this, because they've never been good post this, but hey,
It's probably the best movie based on a game, whether board or video.
Yeah, I would say so.
You can at least argue it.
Yeah, it's definitely an argument.
Not a lot of competition.
No, there's really not.
The good side.
The most successful, I think, was probably one of the Tomb Raider flicks. But I thought those were trash.
I'm talking about film quality. I'm not talking about how much money this movie
made. Quality, hands down. I think this wins over everything.
Yeah.
There are some video game movies that I adore, but they're horrible.
But we covered one
recently. We did. I adore that film, but it's atrocious.
I've covered both, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. So John Landis came up with Clue's overall concept, plot, and multiple ending gimmick, and had been pitching the project for years, and initially planned to direct it himself. However, he decided to direct Spies Like Us instead, turning it over to Jonathan Lynn, co-creator of the quintessential British television series Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister. Tom Stoppard was originally approached to write the screenplay. He worked for a year before giving up and returning all the money he had already been paid. John Landis next approached Stephen Sondheim and Anthony Perkins, both of whom asked for too much money. I didn't even know Anthony Perkins even wrote shit. Yeah, that Anthony Perkins. I didn't even know he wrote anything.
If you're gonna have somebody write about murder mystery, I guess it's Psycho.
I guess, but
Mr. Psycho. Anthony Perkins.
I don't know. Lynn wasn't aware of the other scripts until long after the film was completed. So he wasn't even aware that they had attempted it before. He just sort of did what he did. Pitching it in the studio, John Landis ran around the room in the crazy manner of the characters, jumping on chairs, etc. When he came to the end, when Wadsworth says, "I know who did it," Lynn asked, "Who?" John said, "That's what I need you to figure out."
That's your job, asshole.
He's like, "Oh, I get it." Lynn set the film in New England in 1954 deliberately, recalling tones of old Hollywood, and he wanted his cast to keep that in mind. Before they started shooting, Lynn screened for his cast the classic Cary Grant, Rosalind Russell film His Girl Friday, a film famous for its rapid-fire dialogue. Ironically, past guest Aaron, who was on our Die Hard episode last year, was in a band called His Girl Friday. He was the drummer. The setting in the 1950s was because the 20s to the 50s was the height of the whodunit murder mystery craze. It just so happened that Lynn knew a lot about America in the 50s, like McCarthyism and the Red Scare. Now, Jonathan Lynn is British as fuck, so, why he knew about that is he's just interested in it.
I'd read the paper.
Kind of, yeah. In the original screenplay, there were many shots in the film showing the McCarthy trials that, in the interest of pacing, he cut. He regrets that. Which is true, because there is one shot. The cook is listening to it while she's sharpening the knives.
Yeah. Also, that third act is just covered in and then Kanye. That was just a red herring. Yeah.
Which, by the way, in case you're wondering, the intro, which was a minute long, when I made my first cut, was 2.5 minutes. So yes, a lot of the great lines were cut out. I made my choice. All right, there's nothing I can do.
We could just screen the whole.
I could have done. I literally could have made the whole movie the intro, and I don't think anyone would have complained. But I had to pick what I had to pick. If you notice, there's only literally 4 scenes that I used, and it was originally 10.
Yeah,
and I had to cut them all down because everything is so long. There was nothing I could do. But goddamn, this movie is awesome. Anyway, we're nowhere near that yet. A lot of people read for every part. Pretty much anyone who was in comedy at the time, including Robin Williams, which would have been very interesting. In an interview conducted in November 2009, Jonathan Lynn said about his casting, his original choice for Wadsworth was British actor Leonard Rossiter, most famous for the role of Rigsby in Rising Damp, but he sadly passed away in 1984 just prior to pre-production. He was followed by Rowan Atkinson, who was well known in England for his roles in Not the 9 O'Clock News and Blackadder, but the studio felt he was too unknown to American audiences to be the lead actor in American production. Ironically, Atkinson would go on to huge success with the character Mr. Bean in America 5 years later. Exactly. Again, would have been really good. Jonathan Lynn had known Tim Curry since they were teenagers and personally asked him to be the film. No one else could have pulled this off.
No.
As interesting as all those would have been...
Rowan Atkinson would have
been able to do it. He could do the madcap.
Physical of it all, but the actual line delivery.
He can do it. I mean, I've heard him do it, but Tim Curry is a master at this. Carrie Fisher was originally contracted to portray Miss Scarlet, but withdrew 4 days before filming to enter treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. Fisher called Lynn and agreed to a daily leave of the center to film the movie, which received approval of her clinicians and the producers, but was vetoed by the production's insurance company, forcing Lynn to dismiss her from the project. Leslie Ann Warren was cast as a last-minute replacement. Ironically, this is Eileen Brennan's first film after her release from the Betty Ford Center for Painkiller Addiction, caused by her recovery from a 1982 car accident. Brennan's greatest physical challenge during shooting was running around the mansion for reenactment scenes. Also, ironically, turns out a lot of the cast were supposedly on cocaine at the time. Which makes a lot of sense if you see the movie.
Also, it's the 80s. Smack dab in the middle of the 80s.
Yeah, so that made perfect sense.
Everyone in Hollywood was on cocaine.
Yeah, so it's not guaranteed, but Damian Lynn, in the commentary that a gentleman who his name I should have probably written down, made on an episode of Smodcast with Kevin Smith, he put out this commentary he did with Jonathan Lynn, and then just put it up on SoundCloud for anyone who wants to listen to it. And yeah, offhandedly, Jonathan Lynn just goes, everyone else was on cocaine anyway. I'm like, wait, did he just... Really?
Excuse me?
Damn, alright. So whether it's true or not, I don't know, but he said they were. Martin Mull originally went in for the role of Mr. Green. Christopher Lloyd was cast because Lynn liked his work on the TV series Taxi, which he is really good on. And also, I didn't realize until...
It's a very different character.
Yeah, until this viewing, that the cook